This show is brought to you by our partners talkSPORT Bet. New customers get an exclusive offer of £40 in free bets when you bet £10. Go to talksportbet.com/inside Liverpool to claim this offer now.
TK, great finish, great goal. And Gravenberch, I think, at the moment, he's been Liverpool's best player.
A cracking first 20-30.
We're not this boring Arsenal, sit back and let, we don't want to not win games of football, do we, Arsenal fans, eh?
But the run's excellent. Salah's ball's exquisite. And the finish is so accomplished because it's come across his body.
A lot of strikers would be over the moon with a finish like that.
Yo, he might be the most complete midfielder in the world right now.
Get a fit Isak, and then you throw out Ekitike on the left as well. That's an option, and that looks kind of...
Sounds good to me.
You know, it sounds really good.
You really are kidding yourself when you think this Liverpool team aren't going to go from strength to strength. That's frightening, mate.
When people are trying to have a go at you for the amount of added time as on games of football, you know people are really clutching at straws.
And a lot's been said about the goals and Liverpool shipping quite a lot in the first 5 games. Arsenal have shipped 2 and lost 5 points.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Inside Liverpool, where, yeah, you guessed it, we talk about all things Liverpool Football Club, which at the moment is a fun thing to do. I'm your host, Sam Ellard. Alongside me today is the former Liverpool winger, a man that played in the Champions League final for Liverpool, a man that got man of the match in the Champions League final for Liverpool, Jermaine Pennant, also Liverpool fan, commentator, reporter, part of talkSPORT Goals, Ryan Bromilow. Gents, how are we?
Good.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. And it's a good time, isn't it, to be a Liverpool fan, because this season, so far, so good. Played 5 in the league, won 5 in the league, the only team with a 100% record, and as well, we'll throw in that victory against Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. But we record this on a Monday morning, a couple of days on from the Merseyside derby against Everton, where Liverpool beat Everton by 2-1. Really good in the first half, in particular, the first half an hour, perhaps not so good in the second half when Everton got themselves back into the game, but we saw out the game for that 5th victory of the season. And very early on, boys, but a 5-point cushion at the top of the Premier League. Jermaine, your thoughts on the game against Everton? What did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought first half, like you said, was really good. We looked really sharp. All the players looked like they was on it, and we started to see some players kind of come to the front, as in get used to the style of playing and looking more comfortable. I thought Kirk has probably, one of his better games for Liverpool. Ekitike, great finish, great goal. And Gravenberch, I think, at the moment, he's been Liverpool's best player. He was absolutely fantastic. And I think once we get the picture of it in a minute, when we get 2-0 up, I think we take the foot off the gas. We're not being as ruthless under the Klopp era where it was go, goals. Doesn't matter if we go 2, let's get 3, let's get 4. I think at the minute they're going 2-0 up or whatever it is, and they're just like, okay, we've got this. It's like we'll find it a little bit too comfortable, and then they make it hard for themselves in the second half. But none of this, that Everton, full credit to them, came out second half trying, to give it a go. But if you look at the game, they didn't cut Liverpool open. They didn't bear down on the defence. It was get the ball out to Grealish and then try and get the ball in the box, which we kind of dealt with it and looked comfortable. Teams are going to have little periods, 15, 20 minutes of pressure in any game. But overall, it was a comfortable win.
I'm going to push you a bit more on kind of sitting back on 2-0 in a second. But, Rai, I thought the first half an hour, was our best half an hour of the season. It looked like perhaps Slot almost not got hold of them because we had 4 wins and 4 going into it. But it looked like there was a little bit more intent going out there early on. I thought we were pressing high up the pitch. I think in possession, we tried to move everything on a little bit more quicker. I thought the first 20 minutes was really encouraging. Yeah,
it felt very settled, didn't it? I was going to ask you actually about the fact that we are sitting on 2-0 leads, if that's by design or that's by an element of fatigue, because it was, 3 games in 6 days. And if I look at that performance in the first 20, we looked fluid. And he made 3 changes, didn't he? He brought in Maka, he brought in Ekitike, Bradley. So they give us that extra emphasis and energy. And I think the movements, we were moving Everton around, the tempo was good, the energy was good, the ideas were good. And it was a cracking first 20-30. overall, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think when the game started, we looked fluid, we looked sharp, we looked threatening on almost every attack. And then when we went 2-0 up, that all changed. It's like, we don't need to probe. We're winning 2-0.
So do you think, just going into more detail, do you almost think it's take the extra touch in midfield, take the extra pass? Do you think it's just slow everything down a little bit because of that 2-0 lead? And does that, would you rather see us try and score a third, fourth and a fifth and kill games off?
100%, because we've seen when we get a 2-0 lead now, it can be a little bit dicey. And I think you're giving... Once that team gets that first goal back, if it's 2-0, then it goes to just 1, that gives them a lot of hope. If you could score 3, if we'd have scored 3 in that first half, that game would have been dead. Even if they had got their first goal, the dynamics of the game is dead. They're still gone. So I think we need to just, once we go let's just be ruthless. Let's just go, right, let's not sit back on laurels. Let's just go, let's try and get 3. If we get 4, we get 4. Because the way we was playing in that first
We're not Arsenal, are we, right?
No. There you go.
We're not this boring Arsenal, sit back and, we don't want to not win games of football, do we, Arsenal fans, eh?
So if we go the way we started, I think we just go with that as long as possible.
In terms of the quick start as well, it was the first time this season, Ryan, that we saw Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai all play in midfield together. There was no verts. It was more of a 4-3-3 as opposed to a 4-2-3-1. And last season, that was kind of, I know there was a bit of rotation, Szoboszlai and Jones at times, but that was pretty much the try and trust in midfield 3, 4-3-3 formation. Do you think that helped us look a little bit more stronger and composed in the Merseyside derby?
Yeah, there's a familiarity to it, isn't it? That midfield 3 was the one that took us to the title. So, resting on that in a big game, 12:30, lunchtime kick-off after a big night.
Don't start with kick-off times. Come on.
I'm just saying, a 12:30 kick-off, you could be caught cold, really. Especially against Everton's side. They were right up for it. Have started the season really well. They look a different beast, I think, with Grealish and the additions that they've made in the summer. So there was a little bit of nerves there for me on that front. But, I think that midfield itself just settled that all down. And you got Bradley obviously playing as a more familiar right back. You're not bringing Szoboszlai out of position to cover at right back. Frimpong's very attacking, but he's still adjusting. And Salah's even spoken about it himself, that he's getting used to his new teammates, and that's Salah. Salah's one of the leaders of the squad, one of the linchpins of the squad. So if he's finding it difficult at times to get used to his new teammates, and, it's not as second nature or as subconscious of where that movement is, it's going to help when you've got that solid base of a 3. And if you think about what carried us to success under Klopp, we had those 3 tried and trusted midfielders, didn't we? Always, really. It used to be like, oh, come on, can we not rotate? Can we not bring in a bit more of a creative player? But he quite liked that sort of firm 3 in the middle.
Fabinho, Henderson, Wijnaldum, kind of, but a bit of James Milner in there as well. And you are right, to mention the Champions League in the only kick-offs. 6 teams, 6 English teams played in the Champions League in the week. And we were the only team to win on the weekend just gone. The early kick-off isn't great. I want to throw some love to Ryan Gravenberch, because he might be the most complete midfielder in the world right now. Whether it's playing as a 6, breaking play up, shielding that back 4, whether it's now arriving late into the box and scoring goals. I loved the fact there were a couple of moments in that first half where he carried the ball a long way, beat a couple of men. I'm sitting there watching it thinking, as a midfield player, he can do absolutely everything. I mean, he's not just maybe our best player at the moment, the best player in the league as a midfielder. He's got to be one of the world's best midfielders now, Jermaine. He can do absolutely everything.
Look, he's making a claim for being the best at the moment in the Premier League in that role, on the performances that he's shown so far. And I think we've got to, whatever Slot has done or said to him needs to be analysed, because he's got an absolutely total different tune than he did on the club. And you look at the price tag, let's talk about that we paid for him. We paid 40 million. And if you look at the players in the league in that position, Declan Rice, 105. Enzo Fernandez, 115. You've got Jude Bellingham, I know he's number 10, but he's gone for 100 and so. Caicedo, 150.
And obviously, ironic, we wanted Caicedo, didn't we? And Lavia both went to Chelsea. We were in that bidding war for them.
So to get him at 40 million, and for him to, at the moment, be outshining all of those players under the Slot's regime, I don't know, whatever... Is it they're both Dutch? Have they got an understanding? Where's, let go of the shackles and we're just seeing this fantastic player. But yeah, it's unbelievable. And he's at this moment in time, he's playing like the best number 6 in the league.
He can do everything, can't he, Ron?
He can. I mean, trust and confidence. There's an old saying that if Bayern lets a player go, he mustn't be very good. Or if he lets someone, like say, for instance, if a player joins a rival club and Bayern were in for him, he mustn't be very good. Or, that because they tend to have an idea of, they've got a great talent IQ. But I don't know what they were doing with Gravenberch because they were
someone made a mistake somewhere there.
Someone's made a mistake there, and I think you just got to admire. I mean, let's look at that moment. You admire the sheer quality of the finish.
Yeah.
Because the run was excellent. Yeah, Everton should have had a man tracking him into the box, but the run's excellent. Salah's ball's exquisite, and the finish is so accomplished because it's come across his body. He's helped it along its way.
But also as well, it comes across him on the bounce. Like, it takes a bounce. So how hard is that technique, Jermaine? When, as Ryan says, you're running onto a ball, you have to almost swivel and hit it. But I thought it took a bounce where it almost skidded on quite quickly. So he has to make a move quite quickly.
No, listen, that technique is... I think he could try that 10 times and he might come off once or twice. Like you said, it was going away from him, but spinning... on that trajectory away from him and away from goal. The surface was slippy, so that's going to get a little bit of extra zip. He's had to time that on the jump to flick it over Pickford to have that vision as well. All of those fundamentals to come off in a derby as well. Yeah. So there's loads of pressures and whatnot. But to see that to go in the back of the net, as a number 6, we're talking about, a lot of strikers would be over the moon with a finish like that. It was a really tough finish and a fantastic goal. And, he deserves all the plaudits at the minute. And
the fact that he takes it on, his first thought is to take that on a half volley. The first feeling in his gut is to take that on. It's just a sign of a player brimming with supreme confidence. Yeah, I think when scoring the goal, if you're not confident, scoring the goal at Newcastle, I think is kind of now unleashed something that. The thirst, I want more goals. You start seeing him now taking a little bit more risk with the shots as well. Now he's taking runs in the box and trying to get on the end of things and scoring. And that's going to be the same for Wirtz. I know we're going to probably touch on that, but once he gets a few assists, once he scores a goal, that will unlock his potential to open basically the floodgates, get the wings out and flourish, like we see now with Gravenberch. Yeah, on Wirtz then, what did you make? I guess if you're going with the 3 in midfield, you've got to lose one attacking player. Obviously, Salah was obviously going to play from the right. I think we all knew Isak wasn't going to start because he played in the week, so Ekitike leads the line. It's then whether it was going to be Gakpo or Wirtz from the left. In terms of him not playing, Ryan, is it just about, Champions League in the week, just about, are we going to see quite a lot of rotation in the next couple of weeks to try and keep everyone fresh? I mean, I still think he needs to settle. But what I like about him, and I was going to ask you about this, Jermaine, he's still very unhurried. He doesn't snatch at things still. So the fact that, he's half a yard off at sometimes, there's a ball played through to him by Salah, where he's almost, if he takes that touch a little sharper, he gives himself a shooting opportunity in the second half when he comes on against Everton. He doesn't snatch at it. And even his body language, when he doesn't get the chance or it doesn't quite go his way, he's not irate, he's not frustrated that it didn't quite pan out. And I think that's just because he recognises that if he keeps doing the right things, he trusts in his own ability that moment will come eventually. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think, with Wirtz, you can see mentally he's very, very strong. The noise that you can tell on the pitch doesn't look like his bottom. If there's a mistake, his head doesn't go down. He wants the ball again. He wants to go again. He'll try again. He'll keep going. It's like when we had Núñez. You saw the pressures with him. You saw he would snatch at things. He would rush things. He would, take that extra touch just because of the pressure, the noise around, his goal scoring and how many he misses. But with Wirtz, you can see he's cool-headed. He's just like, I know my ability. My time, my day, my game will come, and I will show why I, came here on the fee that was purchased for me, and he will, just like I said, he will flourish. I'm not worried at all. He's got to settle. He's new. 5 games in. You can't judge teams after they're probably 10 games in their Premier League to see where they're finally at.
And it's just going to take a little bit more time with him. So it's just going to take that one game. I think...
At one moment, right?
One moment, one game. And I think if he starts... Well, he should start against Southampton.
I think he will.
If he chips in with a goal and a couple of assists, I tell you what, you will see, in the next Premier League game, you will see a hot verse.
Yeah, I think so as well. We'll talk about the Southampton game in detail because I think changes are going to be made, but it's still going to be a seriously strong... Yeah. We could have £200 million worth of attacking plays on display in that game against Hampton. But just another player I wanted to highlight from the game against Everton because, you know, talk about Wirtz getting some stick. There was some very early and unfair criticism of Milos Kerkez, who perhaps at times in the first couple of games, moments where he looks maybe a little bit rash. But I thought, Ryan, I thought he was really, really good against Everton. I think there's a couple of moments where a couple of balls got whipped in from the other side, and he dealt with some defensive headers really, really well. Sort of the right winger coming onto him. He looked set, he was ready, he was strong, he was aggressive. I just thought he looked a little bit more composed, which is really good to see. Yeah,
he looked more like the player that we signed from Bournemouth of last year. And again, I think it's just confidence, isn't it? You know, there is going to be a sense that when you bring in quite a lot of new players, it'll take time for them to adjust to the surroundings, to get used to that position. And he's also got Robertson breathing down his neck as well, let's not forget, because he came on, he played against Atletico in the week. He was great when he come on against Burnley as well. So he feels like he's reborn. So that's going to push him. But sometimes, you know, that can go one or two ways, that competition. It can either knock your confidence a bit more or it can take you to the next level. And hopefully it will take him to the next level because he came in for the first couple of games. He looked fairly erratic. I thought his best performance was against Madueke. And that Arsenal game, he seemed to pocket him quite comfortably in the end, really. Even though he did it sort of at breakneck speed and always a full... That
odd moment you thought Madueke, but then he came in with a sliding tackle, didn't he?
Yeah, so there's an element of that, but I think he's starting to show why they paid out.
And Everton, almost most of Everton's joy, and the goal certainly came down the other, tried to get the ball out to Grealish. Yeah. And I'm not being critical of Bradley. I thought there's the odd moment maybe with Grealish. He was a very skillful player, we know. Like with the goal, I mean, Grealish stands
it came down the right.
I just sometimes thought maybe if I'm being a little bit critical of Bradley, there was the odd moment where maybe he made it a little bit too easy for Grealish to be able to create space for a cross. Am I being a bit harsh there, Jermaine?
No, not really. You know what players' strengths are. You would have seen throughout the game what he wants to do. He wants to try and come in on his right, or he wants to get down to the byline. And if you give a player with that kind of ability a yard to get that ball in the box, then you've kind of failed on your job. You're to stop the cross coming in. You know what he's going to. So you've got to get tighter. You've got to make sure he's got to go backwards rather than try and beat you down the line. I thought he could have done better at times. You know, the goal did kind of come from his mistake. You know, he tried to flip out, went out for play, then they threw back in, then they ended up scoring. So yeah, he could have done a lot better, but overall he had a solid game. And with Milos Kerkez, I think when we first got him, obviously, when I first signed for Liverpool, you try extra hard. You want to impress because you're at a big club. You're expecting to play well. You're expected to win. So he's come in his couple of games and he's trying overhard. He's eager. He wants to slide. He wants to win the ball early. He wants to do... And I think with each game that's going, he's settling in. He's getting comfortable. And with each game that's gone, he's looked better and better and better. Explain
to us then, Jermaine, just talk us through your experiences, because you came from Birmingham, yes. So you've been playing in the Premier League, obviously a big club, but not on the scale of Liverpool. Explain to us what it's like making that big jump up to Liverpool, trying to deal with the pressure and expectations.
Yeah, it was massive. Well, for me, it was massive because obviously, I
support the club as well, yeah.
Liverpool as a kid, and I think the first game was against Maccabi Haifa in the Champions League qualifying stage at Anfield. So we did it on the pre-season, and that game, it was not just normal, like, let's go out and play. It was, I've got to play well. I was putting pressure on myself. I was like, make sure you have a good game. Make sure you make an effort. Make sure you're going to be in his plans. Make sure you silence all the critics. Just have a good game, and that's giving you pressure. That's giving you added pressure. Yeah,
that can't be easy going out there having that extra pressure on your mind.
Yeah, and not only that, it's a Champions League. It's Liverpool. They're not going to settle for mediocrity. So you've got to be on it.
Is it also more pressure because I'm almost imagining you sit on the right wing and you then look to your left and it's like, They're Steven Gerrard 10 steps away.
That doesn't help.
Yeah,
that didn't help.
Got the greatest player in the club's history, one of the best midfielders of all time, just stood 10 steps
and it's
away
your
from
first Champions League game as well.
Yeah,
isn't it? So there's that pomp to it.
Remember those days we had to qualify for the Champions League through the old the qualifying rounds.
Because not only do you want to let the fans down, and you want the fans to think, oh, what a signing we've made, but you don't want to let your teammates down and Stevie G as well. And
Cara.
I was more nervous and scared of him than I was Rafa.
Really?
Whatever Rafa said, I just went in and kind of went out.
Oh, Jermaine.
No. Well, at times, there was times where, okay, I see what you're saying, but there's times where I kind of disagreed. But any time Stevie on the pitch said something, it was okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
God speaking.
Yeah, you do it. So, I understand. I can see where Kirkes may have at first been a bit, too eager to impress, and now once he's settled in, he's getting better and better.
I think producer Anna's going to have to cancel Rafa Benitez's guest appearance on Inside Liverpool next week then. I mean, he was going to be sat next to you, going to get you guys reunited, but hey, whatever he says, Jermaine, in one ear, out the other ear, right?
Rafa, I was joking. I always listen to you, mate. I always listen to you, I swear.
Hey, well, fast forward a few months' time, you got man of the match in the Champions League final, so you dealt with the pressure all right, didn't you? No Alexander Isak, no problem. I mean, when he plays as the 9, Hugo Ekitike, he just looks a natural. You talk about Nunez being the complete opposite at Liverpool, where you almost knew he wasn't going to score. He snatched everything. When Ekitike goes to one goal, Jermaine, he just looks like a complete natural number 9, natural finisher. Yeah,
he's showing that. He looks like he could put the ball in the back of the net. You don't need too mmany chances. And that's what you want. And what I like as well about the game, I saw him drift out to the left and he's sharp. I know he's a big, 6'5", number 9, but he can also go on the left as a tricky left-sided forward. You saw him get to byline and a little step over here. He's got the pace to do it. So that's exciting as well. Because if Gakpo's not on song and, not having the great performances, which he wasn't really great against Everton, you get a fit Isak and then you throw out Ekitike on the left as well. That's an option, and that looks kind of...
Sounds good to me.
It sounds really good.
It's like a slightly niche question about centre forwards. I'm thinking off the top of my head here. You mentioned his height and his physicality as a number 9. You also look at the Premier League this season, the likes of, you got Haaland, you got Gyökeres, Šeško signing for Man United. It's sort of like a Liam Delap. All these number 9s are big, physical, tall centre forwards. Whereas if I go back to, you played with Fernando Torres, who was a bit more kind of quick. And I think of strikers like, your Defoes, your Agueros, kind of almost small centre forwards who wanted to play off the shoulder of the centre backs. We've seen a kind of a slight change, haven't we, in the profile of number 9s in the last few seasons? Yeah, we have.
I don't know why and how that's happened, but I think it's just the way the game's going as well. It's very physical, intensity of it, and especially in the Premier League, you probably need that physicality to kind of sometimes deal. We're seeing the tall and strong and big strikers who are technically good handle it and come in fortuitous and scoring a lot of goals.
With Mo Salah, Ryan, we know he had a great understanding with Trent Alexander-Arnold. With him on that right-hand side, working with all these new attacking players, at times in a right-back in Frimpong when he plays. Is it just... You think Mo needs a little bit of time himself to almost kind of build those bonds on the pitch with these new attacking players?
Yeah, to a degree. I was thinking about who would play the Hugo Ekitike role last year. And obviously Nunez would be the most natural replacement, if you like. But Diaz did that quite a lot.
Sure.
You watch back some of the goals from last year, he kept cutting in off the left side, and he did that quite a lot. So maybe they might revert to that when they do bring Isak into the fold, that they've got that option. But just on Hugo Ekitike, what I love about him is he's got a sixth sense for goal, hasn't he? He is a throwback to Fernando Torres in that he's got that uncanny ability to keep the ball half a yard away from the defender at all times, takes those sharp 2 touches, and he's unflustered in his decision-making.
He's clinical, isn't he?
And he's clinical. And I can't remember, I think about Luis Suarez was probably the last time we had a striker. Don't want Salah to get on my back here or clip this up. But I remember, I think Suarez was probably the last time we had a number 9 who was that prolific and had that sort of sense of...
Yeah, that's fair. I don't think Salah can have a go for that, given he plays on the right. But yeah, Torres and Suarez were clear. Torres was more crisper than Suarez, perhaps? in terms of the type of finishes.
More of a number 9.
Am I being a bit unfair
I think
there?
Suarez encapsulated the variety of roles.
Yeah, he had more to his,
He sort of dragged the team by the scruff of its
Literally,
neck
yeah.
all the time, and quite literally in the nature that he was. But if you watch back some of the goals that Torres scored, and you know, Jermaine's probably the best person to comment on this playing with him. He just had this sort of sharp nature down the middle. He'd open up that space. There's a goal he scores against Chelsea where he sort of tears towards the near post, and all of a sudden, you know, he creates the chance from nothing. And I think Ekitike's got that in him, but he's so quick to unleash his strike. He doesn't take long at all. You know, I think about the goals he scored, the Community Shield, the one against Newcastle, and then the one against Everton on Saturday. The quick finishes. You know, Tarkowski's steaming in at him, and he's unfazed by it, and he still tucks it away. So that's unsavable. That once you get that, you know, when you get that interchange all fit and firing, I think there's a real threat, especially if you're in front three of Ekitike, Isak and Salah.
It sounds good. So played 5, Jermaine, won 5. And I guess a real positive is we have 15 points from 15, and it still feels like we have a lot more levels to go to.
There's definitely more levels to go.
Definitely.
You know, you are slightly probably say the same. Yes, Liverpool fans who watch week in, week out probably say the same. And that will come. And it's just literally the players gelling, the players playing more games getting under the belt, getting more match ready and match fitness, because they're still getting that match fitness. After 10 games, that's when everyone's settled and in their rhythm. That's when you start judging teams after 10 games. Where are they in the league? We've said that over the year. Oh, you know, they're low now, or they're high, or they're on fire. So once we reach that kind of mark, that's when I think the turbo starts kicking in. Yeah. That's when the team you start seeing patterns.
Do you remember, there's always, when the team's doing really well, everyone tries to find a way to pull that team down. Last season, there was this great run where we just won every week. And every game we won, people would say, oh, yeah, that team aren't very good, it doesn't count. We beat Bayer Leverkusen, and they're no good. Yeah. We beat Real Madrid, they're rubbish. Beat Man City, they're nowhere near as good. I've seen this on Twitter, on social media this morning, last few days. Added time has now become a thing. People have worked out how much added time gets added on when Liverpool are not winning a game, and then how much added time was added on yesterday, on the game against Everton on Saturday, which wasn't a lot granted. But I think, boys, when people are trying to have a go at you for the amount of added time added on games of football, you know people are really clutching at straws to try and bring your football team down.
I saw this and I was just laughing. I was thinking, this is just pathetic.
Yeah.
They go back to the Newcastle game when there's, I think, 10 minutes maybe added on. But what people are forgetting, the ball was in play for 40 minutes.
In that Newcastle game?
In the Newcastle game. That was the lowest of until we don't know, like years. So for 40 minutes, that ball's only in play. That means something's either stoppage, it's out, there's substitution, there's VARs looking at the reason why it's not. That's why in games there's times added on. Not because it's Liverpool. It's because
I'm aware of that.
It's because there's either stupid VAR decisions that they're taking 2 minutes to look at, the ball's out of play, goalkeepers are with time wasting, free kicks here and there. It all plays into. So when teams do this, they think they're getting away. They think they're running the clock down. No, all the referee does is press the button. He's got 2 watches. When they press stop, that's all they do. So teams are thinking they're being clever.
But now people are going to say, well, was there only 3 minutes added on Saturday in the Merseyside derby?
Because there wasn't really major things to look at.
Exactly.
There wasn't VAR
that makes sense,
there.
Right? I'm with you. That's how it works, right? Hey, Ryan, that's the only reason why we're top of the league, by the way.
Mate,
added time. That's the only reason, right? It can only be, right?
Mate, it smacks of exasperation, doesn't it? It reminds me of like City 2-3 years ago when they don't have that many vulnerabilities. You're looking for things, aren't you?
Anything to try and bring them in.
Anything. Oh, they're vulnerable on the counter. Oh, they concede late goals. Oh, they haven't quite got it. You know, once they get up to speed, they're not going to be quite at it. And I think you're kidding yourself. You really are kidding yourself. You think this Liverpool team aren't going to go from strength to strength. They're not going to regress. And if their level is 15 out of 15, that's frightening, mate. You know, so this team isn't going backwards. It's only going one way. And the quicker they get used to that reality, the better.
We move on very quickly because we play in the Carabao Cup on Tuesday night at home to Southampton. Arne Slot's already said Alisson, Van Dijk, McAllister, Gravenberch, Salah, who have played all the games this season, aren't going to be anywhere near the starting 11. So I've worked out a rough team. Mamadashvili in goal, Frimpong, Leone, Gomez, Robertson, Jones, Endo, Wirtz, Chiesa, Ngoma, Isak as a rough guess at starting 11. Off the top of your head, boys, we're going to see changes. Does that sound like I'm not a million miles off? That's
no, I was surprised if
yeah.
that is probably spot on, and maybe bringing off Isak after 60 minutes or so.
Sure, yeah.
I think that sounds right. Like you said, I would have told Salah, Ibu and Virgil and Grav and the rest to say, listen, I don't want you to see you anywhere near Anfield. Never mind on the pitch. You just go home, you just rest and put your legs up.
Go to the Ballon d'Or tonight, have a good night out, get on the beers.
Just a couple.
If that was him, he'd be on a private jet to Ibiza, wouldn't he? You literally, you'd have had...
Still is.
Mate, you'd have had 2:30 Saturday, Merseyside derby's finished. You do your last interview at 3:15, you're getting driven one of those PJs off to a nice little city break for a few days. You're rocking back up to the training ground Wednesday morning, aren't you?
No comments.
Yeah. Am I painting you in a bad light? No. Hey, mate, World Cup play hard, right, Jermaine? But on a serious note, right, I mean, look, I think we all know, obviously, Premier League, Champions League, and are obviously on a different, in terms of prioritising. But I like winning the Carabao Cup. I like going to Wembley. So, look, I'm all for rotating in the early rounds, but I think we're in a position now, boys, where we have a much bigger squad, where we can rest and rotate, and we can go on all fronts. And I think getting that Carabao Cup early in the season, it can really give you that springboard to go on and win more, right?
Yeah, I feel like we got the squad to do it. And if I look at Slot's reaction to the Plymouth results, you can see how disappointed he was we went out the FA Cup so early. And obviously we got to the Carabao Cup final, didn't win it, but you could see a frustration there. So I think he's not going to sacrifice these competitions for the major two. I've always felt, I mean, when I think back to the season where we sort of were going very strong in 4 competitions, and we actually won the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, and not the Premier League and the Champions League.
Yeah.
There was an air of, the fact that we've won those two and not those two, all of that energy and all of that effort's been expended. But it's, we've only won the sort of and I'm using only in
the lesser two, if you like.
The lesser two of those 2 major trophies are the big ones that you're after. So I would be disappointed if we got towards the latter stages and it meant that was the case. But this team seems like it's got so many different options now, and we need that game time, especially for someone like Rio. I think Curtis Jones as well, and giving him minutes, and he's been so impressive, I think, in recent years in the Cup. I think back to West Ham when he had that performance in the Carabao Cup third round where he bossed it at Anfield. I think he scored 2 that day, or he certainly assisted a couple. So I think they're important games for the squad overall, definitely.
Yeah, Curtis Jones has not forgotten, man, is he? He's a good player, but we've got real options in that midfield, don't we, now?
Yeah.
And it's almost, you forget what a good player is, when he plays. He can still be a really important option for this team.
Yeah, he's an important player, a squad player. He may not be first on the team sheet or a starter, but like I said, a squad player to come on and maybe help things out or try and change something in midfield is great for that. And I think that the Carabao Cup, look, it's great for...
How did you find it as a player when you played in it? Be honest, was it a bit of, oh, goodness me?
Do you know what? It was, I'll be totally honest, it was one of those competitions where, okay, if we win, great. If we lose, so we don't really care. We're not really bothered. It depends what team you are. If you're a team like Liverpool, City, Arsenal, you believe you can win it. But the other teams are just thinking, right, let's try and get as far as possible. But if we get out, it's not we're not going to lose sleep over it. And I think it's for Liverpool, this is good because we've got players who need to understand the way the team plays and get used to it a little bit more, get game time. So it's good in that fact. But if we was to go out against Southampton, I'll be honest, I'll be like, okay, unlucky lads.
Yeah.
Sincerely.
Yeah, move on to the Palace game, because the next game, very cliche, isn't it? But Selhurst Park is one of those where it is a tough place to go and get a result. And it's a Palace team. There's no Eza. Sarr hasn't played the last couple of games. But there's 2 teams unbeaten in the Premier League this season. It's Liverpool, obviously, and it's also Crystal Palace. That's going to be... We've got Palace away, back in the Champions League next week against Galatasaray away. Another tough place to go. And then the final game for the next international break is Chelsea away. So following Southampton, 3 away games, 3 tough away games. And Palace Saturday is not going to be easy. It's always a tough, even though we get wins there, it's a tough place to go and get a result.
Yeah, surprisingly, we've got a good record against Palace, though.
Ever since that 3-3 game, it feels like we've got okay, haven't we?
I think we've won 12 the last 13. And the 13, one of the
We
one.
take out that bit when I've said 3 times, this is a tough place. Yeah. It's actually really easy to go there and get a result.
draw.
I'm liking your attitude towards this. I'm scared about this game.
That's why I said tough place to go and get
You've got to stay optimistic.
You know, I know, but out of all the games so far, I think this one is worrying me. Just the way Palace are, and
Well-drilled, well-organised, good on the counter.
We've seen them in the Community Shield, which we ended up drawing and losing. But yes, they've lost Eze, that's a key player. But they just seem to somehow, doesn't matter who they lose, you know, they seem to just find a way of recovering. And
they recruit really well, don't they?
Yeah.
Players like Munoz comes in, Lacroix, I don't think too many people in this country would have heard too much about them. Yeah, but it's Ismaila Sarr coming back to the Premier League. At Watford, he was decent. He looks an he's almost a player. You think he could be the next Eze, go on and make a move to a bigger team. I think Pino's come in early days, but looks technically very good. And they're well-drilled, well-organised. Play their back 5 system really well. Adam Walton can play in midfield. So it will, I know we've got a decent record there, but it will be a tough game.
That's going to be a tough game. I'm playing at Selhurst Park. People don't understand that the changing rooms are horrible. They are tiny. You've got to come through like a porter cabin kind of thing down. It's horrible. You're enclosed. You can't really get changed. I think when I was playing, I think sometimes the staff had to go out while we got all changed.
You can't all physically fit.
Because you can't. Everyone, you know, it's just so cramped. The pitch is small. It's enclosed. So you find that your space that you probably get on normal bigger pitches, you don't have that space. It's more tight, more into. So and that all plays in their favour. So it's just not only are they a tricky team, it's just a tricky pitch, tricky stadium. The atmosphere is like kind of look, you know, can't be hostile. It's just one of those plays where you want to tick off and like get this game out of the way.
Yeah. So that's Saturday, Palace away. Tuesday, Carabao Cup. Monday evening, it's the Ballon d'Or. So we're recording this, around 7-8 hours before the Ballon d'Or ceremony. Look, Mo Salah, I think we think it's unlikely he's going to win. Ousmane Dembele is the clear favourite with Lamine Yamal, the outsider. Salah was the PFA Player of the Year, the Premier League top scorer, the most assists. We know he was unbelievable last season in the Premier League. He took his game to a different level. We know that. We watched him week in, week out. But do you think that the Ballon d'Or pretty much comes down to you pick a player from the winning team in the Champions League? And as we know, unfortunately, we didn't do that last season.
Yeah, there's also individual honours as well, isn't there? So that the fact that Dembele won the Champions League, I think, doesn't go in Salah's favour. And if he'd won the Club World Cup, I'd imagine that it would have been a surefire win if it isn't already.
Can't see a Chelsea player winning the Ballon d'Or tonight, can you?
Absolutely not.
I can't see Robert Sanchez getting it.
No, but it's accumulation of honours, isn't it?
Salah's numbers last season were frighteningly good in the best team in the Premier League, right?
Outrageous, and I think with Salah, you know, he single. I mean, what a debt we owe to that man's brilliance. By the way, you know, he pulled us out of the fire so many times, and he single-handedly dragged us over the line. You know, so I think in terms of his impact and his longevity. I mean, I know obviously it's judged off last season, but I would have just loved it for his longevity, for the impact that he's had on this side, for the fact that he's constantly been the one that we've gone to and called upon. It would have been great. But I think the Champions League and the run and us sort of, you know, losing our speed in the round 16s killed
I think that's fair.
Killed him.
But maybe perhaps he and the boys might have a trip over there. Have a
you might see them
play in the Carabao Cup.
Take the PJ to Paris.
The PJ.
Might get the PJ to Paris. Boys, the Virgil.
You get a PJ here, don't you, to New UK, right?
PJ.
Private jet.
Yeah.
There you go.
Have you been on a private jet?
Have I been on one?
Yeah,
I have been on one.
You need to organise an inside Liverpool trip away. You need to organise an inside Liverpool Christmas party where you get us on a PJ and we go somewhere for a night out.
That's not a problem because I'll invoice talkSPORT.
Put on expenses, right? Yeah, you got no chance anymore. No chance anymore. But the weekend, Jermaine, was made even better on Sunday afternoon when our 2 title rivals both drew, 2 points dropped. That result was almost perfect for us.
I think so, because if Man City would have won, they would have been obviously closer to Liverpool, and you want them as far away as possible. I know they're not the Man City of a few years ago, but at the end of the day, they can still produce magic, and it is still Man City. And so for me, I think a 1-1 draw was a perfect result for Liverpool. I think it gives us now some breathing space. Arsenal will say, good result, we've got a point back. But in my eyes, it's dropped 2 points.
I don't know how Arsenal fans can look at that.
It's dropped 2 points.
Yeah.
So all in all, I think, we're sitting pretty. We're 5 points clear. And that result is what we wanted.
An A clear of City.
Yeah.
You know, that should not be underestimated at this stage of the campaign, that we're 8 clear of City. Even though that they've got the fragility. You know, we talked about Salah's impact last year. I think about Haaland. You know, Haaland's equally capable of dragging them over the line in so many games.
He's looking quite good this season,
isn't
he?
Tiny, mate.
He's looking like he's going to score lots of goals this season. But do you think that, from an Arsenal point of view, then they were the ones that were kind of the second favourites, just on them, do you think they look like a team that can be, maybe not good enough, but consistent enough to go on 8, 10, 12 winning runs this season?
I think they can. They've got the squad depth to be able to do that. But you've got to question the manager. You've got to start questioning the manager now. Does he believe that? When you're coming up against the top teams, Liverpool, Man City, you can't go there thinking, my first thought is, right, team sheet, let's not lose. You've got to go out there with your best attacking team, obviously your best defensive team, and going to win this game. You don't see Liverpool playing at Anfield and changing and putting Endo in there, Gravenberch and just McAllister. We went attacking. We went to go and win the game. Arsenal didn't. They played the same team that kind of at Anfield to not lose. They played at home to Man City or a weaker Man City to try and not lose. They wasted 45 minutes. 45 minutes of playing 3 defensive midfielders. Second half, they changed it and looked a better team, looked more threatening, and made Man City go back more defensively and change their kind of structure because it was getting attacked upon. Why are you putting Eze on the bench and Mikel Merino instead of him, really?
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I agree with everything you've just said there. And also from an Arsenal point of view, given how strong Liverpool look, you know, going on winning runs. I know it's so early in the season, but it almost feels like every game has to be a must-win game for Arsenal. They can't afford to drop points, so I agree with you. I thought the Eze on the bench one was strange, and then they made those changes at half-time, didn't they?
Goal.
And they immediately looked better, didn't they, in the first 20 minutes of the second half? You could tell immediately just that extra player in there, Ryan, who can make something happen.
Yeah, especially at home. They do it at home. Doesn't make any sense. You know, you're supposed to back yourself against anyone. You know, we talk about Liverpool. I think about Liverpool when they're at the pomp. They can beat anyone on their day. That's what you've got to believe. When you're at that level, you've got to believe that you can beat anyone on your day. So to set up in a way where you are cautiously sounding out the opponent at home, I think was a misstep from Arteta. And you're right, the first 20 after this, at the start of the second half was the best he looked. And it wasn't even necessarily fluid. He didn't have, a great idea or vision towards goal, I don't think. But the bobbles were falling their way. Zubimendi has a shot which goes slightly over. They get a bounce down in the box that almost runs their way as well. So, just by the chaos of adding more attacking fixtures into the lineup, they had something extra. They were offering City a few more problems. And especially when City set up like that, he should have got a sort of vibe from the first 20 minutes. City are going to play like this, it looks like, for the entire 90. So if they're gonna submit almost and play on the counter, then we've got to be overly offensive. We've got to commit an extra body. And I'd like to think that if that was Liverpool and that was Slot, we would be going.
But I don't think you don't need 20 minutes to see how City play. You would have seen games, you've seen videos. He knows how they play. You should know from the get-go. This is how they're going to set up. This is how they're going to play. I don't need to worry about that. Yes, I need to worry about the Haaland and the Docker and the attacking powers that they will have. Okay, defensively we're good. We know we're defensively strong, but they're also weak defensively. That's probably their weakest part, is their defensive side of the game, not going forward and scoring goals. So now let's put our attacking, let's get at them. Let's give something them to think about.
And a lot's been said about the goals and Liverpool shipping quite a lot in the first 5 games. Arsenal have shipped 2 and lost 5 points. Let's not
Yeah.
forget. So, you know, you can play it up by saying, well, defensively they've been solid, but they sit second because of it. So
And 5 points already feels like a pretty big gap, right? And they go to Newcastle as well on Sunday. Sunday coming up, but they haven't got a great record, do they? So we should pause on Arsenal, by the way, and we should say that if you want more Arsenal chat, Inside Arsenal is the place to be. But we're going to finish off Inside Liverpool by talking about the Premier League champions and the team that sit top of the Premier League table with 5 wins from 5. I love this time of the season where it's Premier League, Champions League, Premier League, Carabao Cup, Premier League, Champions League. As a player, you must have, you know, when you're literally playing every 3 days, it must be absolutely amazing.
I wouldn't say amazing because you're like, my body needs a rest. But no, it's good because...
Do you want the violins out?
No, yeah.
I mean...
Well, it is good in the fact that, for me, it was like, I just love playing games. Training is no fun. Because it's literally when all these games are cramped.
Just recovery sessions, right?
It's
Pretty
just
much,
recovery sessions, yeah. And if you're not playing, you're doing a little bit of running to get the heart rate up, as in if you equivalent to playing a match. So that's not fun. But yeah, you know, when there's games thick and fast and you're a starter, and there's nothing better. You just look for the next one, especially if something's not gone right. As an individual player, there's always something in the game where you think, I could have done that better.
Yeah.
Or I wish I did this. And you're like, right, next game I'm going to put that right. Next game I'm going to do better.
You know what? There is no other way I would rather spend a Monday morning than sat with you two guys talking about the Premier League champions and talking about Liverpool Football Club.
Sam.
Jermaine?
Do you want a cuddle?
Should have a group hug. Jermaine, Ryan, thank you so much. This has been the latest episode of Inside Liverpool on talkSPORT's YouTube channel and on your smart TV. So it's Southampton Tuesday, Palace on the weekend, Galatasaray the following week, and then Chelsea before the next international break. We'll be recording our next episode on the Monday after that, so in exactly 2 weeks' time. Thank you so much for watching Inside Liverpool. We're back in a couple of weeks' time talking all things Liverpool. The Premier League champions, we're sitting top of the table, 5 wins from 5. Life's good.